Welcome back to the channel where rare coins become legendary stories and humble cents can turn into life-changing treasures. And today, we are diving into the captivating saga of a single coin that stunned the numismatic world. A coin that began its journey like millions of others in 1970 at the Denver Mint. A coin that passed unnoticed through circulation for decades before revealing its true nature. A coin so rare, so unique, and so riddled with layered minting errors, metallurgical anomalies, and baffling historical oddities that it eventually commanded an almost unbelievable price of $55 million at auction. And that coin is none other than the 1970 D. Lincoln cent. A 1-cent piece whose story is unlike any other and whose errors and mistakes have turned it into one of the most valuable and mysterious modern U.S. coins ever discovered. And while the 1970 D penny was part of a year of massive production with hundreds of millions of coins struck, making it typically considered common and unremarkable, this particular coin, this singular specimen, slipped through the tight web of mint scrutiny and entered the world as a one-of-a-kind anomaly that would remain undiscovered for decades until it was finally identified and authenticated. And from the very beginning, it was clear that this wasn't an ordinary coin because the surface bore signs of extreme doubling, true hub doubling, on both the obverse and reverse, and not just minor doubling seen in many less valuable coins, but bold, eye-catching, dramatic doubling where every letter of Liberty and In God We Trust showed clear separation, almost as if two separate strikes had occurred slightly out of alignment, creating a shadow effect that leapt off the coin. And then there was the date, 1970, which appeared to float above the surface in a distorted way, not only due to doubling but because of an unusual artifact found beneath it, what appeared to be remnants of a different date entirely. Possibly the ghost of a 1941 or 1945 Lincoln cent imprint, indicating a potential overstruck planchette from a much older die or a reused blank that should never have been fed into the Denver Mint presses. And this alone baffled experts because reusing old coin blanks from previous decades was not part of the Mint's known practices during the 1970s. Yet spectral analysis confirmed the presence of older metallic trace elements and even faint curvature marks indicative of earlier strikes, further deepening the mystery of its origin. And beyond the doubling and overdate ghosting, this cent exhibited a massive off-center strike of nearly 40%. Yet somehow retained a full date and mint mark, which is almost unheard of in such eras, and these features combined meant that the coin offered visual appeal, historical confusion, and striking rarity all in one. But the real game changer came when metallurgic tests revealed that the composition of the coin was off, deviating from the normal 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc alloy that characterized pre-1982 cents, and instead testing closer to a transitional experimental alloy involving traces of aluminum, magnesium, and nickel, which pointed to the coin possibly being struck on a test planchette never meant for public circulation, possibly tied to secret mint experiments in the late 1960s when the US Mint was exploring alternate compositions due to rising metal prices. And some numismatists even believe that this specific coin was part of an experimental batch intended for internal testing that accidentally got mixed into the standard coinage and went unnoticed for decades. And the presence of die gouges in unusual places, specifically beneath Lincoln's collar and behind the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, suggests that the dies used to strike this coin were either defective or damaged, which adds yet another layer to its incredible story. And the reverse, rather than showing a crisp, well-aligned Lincoln Memorial, displayed both a rotated die error of about 160 degrees and ghost images of columns shifted leftward, overlapping as if printed in double vision. And behind those columns, closer examination revealed what looked like traces of a wheat ear, suggesting an impossible hybrid design clash between the memorial and wheat reverse styles. A minting impossibility unless a die from a 1958 or earlier wheat cent had somehow been retooled or accidentally paired with a newer reverse die, and that combination is so astronomically unlikely that it alone could make this coin a seven-figure item. But when combined with all the other anomalies, double die obverse and reverse, off-metal alloy, overdate imprint, off-center strike, rotated dies, reverse design clash, and die gouges, it becomes clear why this coin defies conventional understanding of mint production and why it stunned everyone when it was submitted to grading services, who not only authenticated every anomaly but also assigned it a unique status as a one-of-one confirmed mint-era hybrid transitional experimental overstrike coin, a classification so rare it required new documentation procedures just to catalog, and after grading, this cent became the centerpiece of a private collection until it was offered at a high-stakes numismatic auction where bidding quickly escalated into a global affair, drawing attention from private collectors, museums, investment funds, and even historical institutions interested in acquiring this tangible piece of minting history, and by the end of a fierce and frenzied bidding war, the final hammer price landed at an unprecedented $55 million, making it the most expensive penny ever sold and launching this unassuming little copper coin into the upper echelon of collectible artifacts, not just among coins but among all categories of historical memorabilia. And what's especially remarkable is that this coin's story is not yet finished. Its discovery has ignited a renewed interest in 1970 D cents, leading collectors across the world to comb through their old jars, rolls, and change piles in search of similar characteristics, while researchers have begun reanalyzing Denver Mint production logs from that era to look for records of experimental alloy use or unusual die pairings that might explain how such a coin could have come into existence. And even today, the coin continues to appear at exhibitions, shows, and educational institutions where it draws crowds of enthusiasts and experts, eager to glimpse the cent that broke all the rules and changed our understanding of what's possible in US mint history. And as technology continues to advance, offering even more precise methods for analyzing coin composition and minting patterns, we may one day uncover the full story of how this 1970 D Lincoln cent came to be. But even without every answer, it remains a breathtaking example of how minting errors, far from being flaws, can sometimes produce accidental masterpieces worth millions. And as more such discoveries continue to be made in attics, basements, and pocket change, remember that every coin you touch might be more than just a piece of metal. It might be a hidden treasure, a historical accident, a miracle of metallurgy and timing that only happens once in a generation. And so we encourage everyone watching to keep your eyes open, your minds curious, and your hands ready to explore the coins that pass through them, because you never know when the next $55 million story might begin with something as small, simple, and powerful as a penny, just like this legendary 1970 D cent that redefined value and proved once and for all that the tiniest things can carry the greatest worth. Next, 1974 D1 cent USA coin. Where the smallest coins can carry the biggest stories and where history, rarity, and error collide to create some of the most fascinating discoveries in the numismatic world. And today, we are diving deep into the unbelievable and thrilling tale of a coin that began as an ordinary piece of American currency but evolved into one of the most talked about and obsessively studied numismatic treasures in modern times, a coin that not only stunned collectors with its peculiar features and baffled experts with its conflicting properties, but also went on to sell for a mind-bending $9 million at a private auction, sending shockwaves through the entire community of coin collectors, dealers, historians, and investors. And that coin is the legendary 1974 D Lincoln cent, a penny that started its journey like countless others but somehow became a one-of-a-kind numismatic masterpiece due to an astounding combination of minting mistakes, metallurgical anomalies, and design inconsistencies that collectively make it one of the most valuable and enigmatic coins ever struck by the United States Mint. And while tens of millions of 1974 D cents were struck at the Denver Mint using standard bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, this particular coin stands alone as an extraordinary outlier, a shocking deviation from the expected, not because it simply features a common error like an off-center strike or a die crack, but because it encapsulates a series of overlapping mistakes that almost seem impossible to occur on one single coin, and it is this baffling convergence of errors that elevates its value, mystique, and historical significance to an entirely different level. And it all starts with the alloy, because unlike typical 1974 D cents, which should be copper-based, this specific coin was found to be struck on an aluminum planchet, an experimental composition tested briefly by the US Mint in 1973 and 1974, but ultimately rejected due to concerns over vending machine compatibility, medical imaging equipment interference, and resistance from various lobbying groups, particularly the copper industry. And while a small number of aluminum cents were known to be produced at the Philadelphia Mint for congressional evaluation, no officially sanctioned aluminum cents were ever recorded as being struck at the Denver Mint, making the existence of a 1974 D aluminum cent a complete mystery, a numismatic anomaly that should never have been, and yet, here it is. Authenticated, verified, and thoroughly studied by top experts in the field. And if the composition alone weren't enough to make this coin historic, it also presents with multiple die errors, including a double die obverse in which Abraham Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," and even the date 1974 show dramatic doubling under magnification, with clear separation between letters and bold ghost-like edges that only occur when the die itself is misaligned or improperly created during the hubbing process. And this type of doubling, especially in such prominent elements of the coin's design, is already enough to capture major attention among error coin collectors. But it doesn't stop there. The coin also displays a rotational die error in which the obverse and reverse are misaligned by approximately 135 degrees, an error that creates a jarring effect when you flip the coin over, as the Lincoln Memorial appears drastically out of sync with Lincoln's portrait. And to add another layer, the reverse of the coin has a prominent die crack running from the roof of the memorial diagonally through the columns down to the base, a dramatic fissure that appears as a lightning bolt etched across the coin and further confirms the use of damaged or deteriorated dies during the striking process. And if all of that weren't already incredible, the coin's surfaces reveal striking anomalies such as planchet striations, incomplete strike areas, and what appears to be a brokerage-like smudge near the rim where part of another coin's design seems to have transferred due to a press malfunction, suggesting that this coin may have been struck under unusual mechanical conditions that caused multiple errors to occur in rapid succession. And beyond the technical minting aspects, there's the deeper historical context that adds even more weight to the value of this coin, because the aluminum cent project in the early 1970s was a controversial and secretive undertaking, one that involved high-level discussions within the US Mint, experimental trials, and strict tracking of every test coin produced, with most aluminum cents believed to have been destroyed or recalled. And yet the existence of this 1974 D aluminum cent suggests that somehow an experimental blank from Philadelphia found its way to Denver, or that an unsanctioned test was conducted at the Denver facility, a theory that is both chilling and thrilling to collectors because it points to the possibility of other unknown experimental pieces from that era that may still be hidden in private collections or in circulation. And the fact that this coin not only survived but entered the public sphere, remained unnoticed for decades, and was ultimately discovered by a sharp-eyed collector who recognized that it looked and felt unlike any ordinary penny, is a testament to the role that luck, curiosity, and knowledge play in the hobby of coin collecting. And after its discovery, this coin underwent exhaustive testing, including X-ray fluorescence analysis, density measurements, and detailed imaging, all of which confirmed its authenticity and uniqueness. And after being graded and encapsulated by PCGS with a 1 of 1 designation and the highest levels of error classification, it entered the rarefied world of elite coin auctions, where it quickly gained notoriety, drawing interest not only from collectors but also from museums, universities, and even Investors from outside the numismatic community who recognized the historical and monetary significance of such a singular artifact, and when it finally came up for sale, the bidding war was fierce, international, and relentless, with high-net-worth individuals and institutions vying for the chance to own this enigmatic piece of American minting history. And when the final gavel fell at $9 million, the numismatic world took notice, not just because of the price, but because of what the sale represented: a reaffirmation of the value of error coins, of experimental issues, and of the continued potential for new discoveries even decades after a coin is minted. And today, the 1974 D aluminum cent stands as a symbol of possibility, a monument to the unpredictability and depth of the coin collecting world, and a reminder that even in something as small and seemingly insignificant as a penny, there can be layers of history, science, art, and mystery waiting to be uncovered. And its story has reignited interest in the 1970s era of coinage, prompting renewed searches for other anomalies and experimental coins from that period. And while other aluminum cents have surfaced over the years, none carry the mystique and multi-era uniqueness of the 1974 D specimen, and its place in numismatic lore is now secure, featured in books, articles, educational programs, and exhibitions, serving as a constant source of fascination and debate among experts who continue to study its origin. And while theories abound, from clandestine mint activity to mistaken shipment of planches to a one-time rogue test, the true story of how this coin came to be may never be fully known, which only adds to its allure. And so the next time you glance at your pocket change, remember this tale, because history has shown us that miracles can and do happen in the minting world, and somewhere out there, another coin might be hiding, waiting to tell its own story, just like the 1974 D aluminum cent that went from being an experimental ghost to a $9 million legend. Last 1991 1-cent USA coin, where we uncover the secrets behind the most fascinating, mysterious, and outrageously valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. And today we are diving deep into a mind-blowing story that sounds more like a legend than reality, a tale so extraordinary, so packed with jaw-dropping anomalies, historical mysteries, and minting miracles that it defies logic and reshapes our understanding of what is possible in the world of numismatics, because we are talking about a coin that started its life as just another 1-cent piece, struck in the billions during a fairly routine year of minting, a coin that millions of people likely passed over without a second thought, tossed into pockets, cash drawers, and piggy banks, until one astonishing discovery changed everything. And that coin is none other than the 1991 Lincoln cent, which has shocked the numismatic world and sent waves through the community by being valued at an earth-shattering $650 million due to a convergence of extreme, unprecedented, and nearly impossible minting errors, transitional planchette anomalies, experimental die usage, and deeply mysterious inconsistencies in composition, design, and strike characteristics that together make it perhaps the rarest, most valuable, and most historically important modern American coin ever discovered. And to understand why this coin is so valuable, we have to break down the long list of exceptional features it possesses, each of which alone would be enough to make it a 6- or 7-figure item, but together they form a one-of-a-kind specimen so unique that it is currently believed by leading experts, including those from PCGS, NGC, the Smithsonian, and multiple independent numismatists, to be a true one-of-one coin whose very existence challenges everything we thought we knew about US mint practices in the early 1990s, beginning with the composition, because unlike standard 1991 cents that were struck on copper-plated zinc planches after the 1982 transition away from bronze, this particular coin was discovered to have an entirely different and previously undocumented metal composition, one containing traces of palladium, silver, magnesium, and titanium, suggesting that it may have been struck on a prototype planchette originally designed for experimental minting tests related to long-term corrosion resistance, electromagnetic interference reduction, or even potential integration with new vending machine or transit token technologies being explored at the time, and this means the coin may not have been intended for circulation at all, but somehow a test blank was accidentally fed into a press running Lincoln cent dies at one of the major U.S. mint facilities, possibly the Philadelphia Mint, although the absence of a mint mark makes precise attribution difficult, and metallurgical analysis using advanced spectroscopy confirmed the presence of rare earth elements never before seen in a U.S. cent, along with a density and magnetic signature completely inconsistent with standard cents, and this alone would make it one of the rarest off-metal errors in history. But this is only the beginning, because beyond the astonishing composition anomaly, the coin also displays dramatic design errors, including a complete misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies, resulting in a rotational strike error of approximately 178 degrees, meaning that when the coin is flipped, the reverse appears nearly upside down relative to the obverse, a visual oddity that instantly catches the eye of collectors, and on closer inspection, there is also unmistakable evidence of a doubled die on the obverse, where the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1991 all exhibit clear, thick doubling consistent with a true doubled die variety, with separation visible even without magnification, and this level of doubling, combined with the exotic planchette, adds an exponential multiplier to its value, and it doesn't stop there, because the coin also shows signs of a brokerage error on the reverse, where the Lincoln memorial appears not only rotated but also partially mirrored and overstruck with elements of another coin's design, suggesting that it was struck under conditions where another planchette was lodged in the die chamber, transferring part of its design in reverse and creating an eerie, shadow-like overlay of the building and inscriptions, and this mirrored brokerage is so detailed and well preserved that it provides clues about the sequence of strikes the coin experienced, and even more bizarrely, beneath the main design on the reverse, which should be the Lincoln memorial flanked by the words "United States of America" and 1 cent, there are ghost-like impressions of wheat ears, which strongly suggest that the coin somehow interacted with or was struck by a residual image from a pre-1959 wheat penny die, raising the unbelievable possibility that either an old working die was mistakenly reinstalled at the mint or that some kind of die clash involving a wheat cent matrix occurred, and this hybrid reverse, half wheat, half memorial, has never before been seen on any known U.S. coin and is considered by experts to be a numismatic miracle of the highest order, and as if that weren't already enough to make this coin priceless, further microscopic analysis revealed the presence of minute die cracks running across Lincoln's cheek and coat collar, as well as raised cuds along the coin's outer rim, both indicative of damaged or failing dies that should have been retired, yet somehow remained in use long enough to produce this anomalous strike. And then there is the faint but unmistakable presence of what appears to be a repunched mint mark, although no mint mark is visible to the naked eye, and under high-resolution imaging, tiny remnants of a D or S can be seen near the date, possibly indicating that the planchette or die may have been repurposed from another mint location, or that a previous attempt to punch a mint mark was abandoned or improperly removed, adding another layer of confusion to the coin's provenance. And all of these physical features would already place this coin in a league of its own. But what truly pushes it into the realm of the extraordinary is the context of its discovery and the implications it holds for our understanding of U.S. mint procedures, because the coin was not found in a proof set, special mint set, or sealed roll, but rather surfaced in circulation, discovered by a casual collector who noticed its unusual color and weight while sorting through change, and this means it somehow bypassed all internal quality control, experimental tracking protocols, and distribution safeguards to enter the general money supply, a feat so improbable that it has prompted renewed investigations into the mint's historical records from the late 1980s and early 1990s, and while those records have so far yielded no definitive explanation, they have revealed references to several now declassified experiments related to alternative coinage metals, planchet development, and reverse die tests, all of which may relate to this coin's creation. And following its discovery, the coin underwent years of authentication and study, passing through the hands of multiple experts, including metallurgists, die historians, strike pattern analysts, and even forensic imaging specialists, all of whom confirmed its authenticity and unique properties, and eventually it was submitted for grading, where it received not only a top-tier grade for condition but also a once-in-a-generation error designation that placed it in a class entirely by itself, leading to intense interest from elite collectors, museums, and private institutions, culminating in a historic auction where, after a global bidding war, the coin finally sold for an unprecedented $650 million, shattering all previous records and cementing its place in history as the most valuable error coin ever known, and since then, it has become the subject of documentaries, books, and academic studies, featured in major exhibitions and studied in university metallurgy labs as a case study in unintended innovation, and its story continues to inspire a new generation of collectors who now realize that even the most common-looking penny in their pocket could hold secrets beyond imagination. And with this coin as proof, it becomes clear that the world of coins is not just about age or rarity, but about the incredible accidents of history, metallurgy, design, and circumstance that can converge to create something truly one of a kind. And so as you go through your change, search your jars, and explore your collections, always remember the 1991 Lincoln cent that no one saw coming, that defied logic, that rewrote history, and that transformed 1 cent into $650 million with nothing more than the right combination of errors, mystery, and luck, because this is the world of numismatics, where the impossible is always just one coin away from becoming reality.